Welcome to another video review here on our YouTube channel, and today I'm going to speak about tactical rings made by Tier 1 that fit on Blaser original base. So they are called Tier 1 Blaser TacRings, so tactical rings. If you have probably noticed that we have two different reviews on our YouTube channel regarding these Blaser rings, Tier 1 rings for Blaser bases, and one are standard, as you can see, with 2 screws or 4 on top, and this one are tactical, which are much wider. So they have 6 screws on top, not 4, and that's the difference. So these are called ring sets, and these are called tactical rings, tac rings. So that's the only difference. But I will go through all the functionalities and general features of these tac rings in this video. So as you probably know, Blaser produces scope mounts that fit on all their rifles, on all their break barrel rifles, repeating rifles, side-by-side express rifles, and so on all of their models. And I did a series of reviews of these mounts because I think they really changed the way scope mounts are perceived, or how we think about them, because honestly speaking, there are a lot of producers that have 10 rifles and need 10 different mounts for them, but Blaser produces, I don't know, 20 rifles and they have one single mounting solution for all of them, which is great. On the other side, they are still lacking the possibility, or aesthetically and functionally, if you want to mount a tactical, more sturdy scope on your Blaser rifle. The original rings are, I would say, they don't look aesthetically pleasing, honestly speaking. They are made for hunting rifle scopes. They're fine, they're small, they're not bulky. They don't offer the comfort that they're really robust, honestly speaking. And if you're putting a scope with a 34mm tube on it, let's say Schmidt & Madden PM2 or Kahles K-series scope, they look a little bit too gentle for them. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is that if you're doing some long-range hunting, because Blaser produces hunting rifles mostly, those tactical rifles they produce, they don't use the same scope mount. That's the only exception, that this scope mount doesn't work on them, the LRS tactical rifles from Blaser. So some other manufacturers, like Tier 1, came out with a solution for that. So they produce rings that go directly on the original Blaser mount, but are far more tactical in their design, far more robust, and they look nicer with a tactical scope. So this is where the tac rings come into play. And the first thing is the robustness and looks. The second thing what they offer is inclination. So you can buy them with 20 MOA inclination. This is something what original mounts are lacking, because originally you're not able to buy a scope mount for Blaser that would have inclination, so that the scope would be canted forward for longer shots. With Tier 1 rings, this is possible. I have to point out, Tier 1 is not the only producer that found this niche. Spur is also producing rings for Blaser. Dimpal is also producing rings for Blaser, and many others also. I do have to say that, in my opinion, Tier 1s are one of the most popular and most sought after, or I would say the most common option if you would like to upgrade your scope mount, Blaser scope mount. So they're offering these rings, tactical rings, in 3 different diameters. So 30mm, 34mm, and 36mm, and in 3 different inclination options. So you have 0 MOA inclination, then you have 8 MOA inclination, and you have 20 MOA inclination. I don't know if it's seen well. Yeah. So 3 different diameters and 3 different inclinations. Most of them come in a really nice packing, such a nice plastical box with screws added, and the this for your torque wrench. So you get everything included. I do have to point out that the packing does changes from series to year, or from year to year. So maybe if you're looking at this video 4 years in the future, let's say in 2025, maybe the packing is not the same anymore, but I'm sure that the rings will be the same and the quality of the rings will be the same. So what is also interesting, and this is something what Tier 1 does a lot of emphasis on, you get all the torque settings written in the packing, and this is really, really important. So for the screw that goes through the base into the ring, so this screw, they are specifying that you need to apply 4 Newton meters of torque on it. Honestly speaking, the original mounts, they specify 3 Newton meters. I would say everything from 3 to 5 will probably work just well. The upper rings on the upper screws on the rings, you need to apply, they say 2 Newton meters. I would say 2.2, 2.3 will still work. So anything from 2 Newton meters to 2.4 Newton meters will be okay. If you go over that, you'll probably damage the scope. How to mount them? The ring which has a bubble level in its structure has to go at the rear, and then the ring without the bubble level has to go in the front. And you have to have markings of inclination on the left side. So on the left side towards the target, you have to have the inclination markings. This is the only way that the rings will work well. And this is especially important with rings that have 20 MOA inclination or 8 MOA inclination. If you put them in any different way, let's say if you put one ring that has a marking on the left side and then you turn the other one around, you will damage the scope. If you do this, you will damage the scope. So the markings have to be on the same side, both of them on the left side, for the mounts to work properly. Otherwise, they will flex and damage the scope. Okay, and then you apply normally the proper torque values on the base screws, 4 Newton meters, and then 2.2. I'm saying intentionally 2.2, even though they say 2 Newton meters, 2.2. It's, I would say, the proper torque setting for majority of scopes. You don't need to put anything inside. Maybe some people recommend rosin in powder. Some other manufacturers say if you have some latex, you can also put them in from the gloves. Now when the pandemic is still here, you can really easily get gloves in the medical, really thin gloves made out of latex. Everywhere you can put also a little bit in it, but in my opinion and in my experience, you don't need to put anything in. You just apply the proper torque values and it will work. Okay, so if I do a short summary of pluses and minuses of what is sweet, what is sour, what I think is really sweet is the design of the rings. They're really nice, they're really beautiful, and if you have a tactical scope, it will really work well as a whole setup. The fit and finish is great, and I also think it's great that you're able to use the standard base and have with proper rings 20 MOA of elevation. This is something really, really great, and I think this is the reason why this Tier 1 rings are so why so many people buy them, because they're really popular. Okay, so these are the pluses. What could have been done better? First of all, what I think, well, if we look at the dimensions, the rings are 26 millimeters wide. This is great for a tactical scope. That's great. The normal ring set, it's 7 millimeters thinner, so it's 19 millimeters. I would say this 26 millimeter wide rings looks nicer. What I do think should have been made differently, or would be good if they would offer options. Now all the rings are approximately 10 millimeters high, all of them. and there is only one height available. You're not able to buy lower or higher rings than 10 millimeters. Only one height, but you are able to buy 3 different inclination options. So I would advise Tier 1 to do also higher and lower ring options. A lot of people would appreciate this. Okay, the price is 250 euros or even more, but this is a premium product. So honestly speaking, if you're buying an R8 rifle, if you're buying a tactical scope, we know tactical scopes, they all cost around 3,000 euros or something like that. 250 euros for the ring and 300 for the base. It's not such a big expense in the whole grand scheme of things. So the price, okay, it could be done better, but still it's not a big problem. Apart from that, I would say they're almost perfect. They're really, really beautiful. Fit and finish is great, and their functionality is great. So I don't have many complaints, honestly speaking. I also don't see many areas where improvement could be made. So thank you for watching. If you have any additional questions, please use the comments below. If I made any mistake in this review, also please point it out below. I'll be really grateful. And if you have any video requests, send us an email or use comments, and I will try to do my best.